Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, we are 4 days away from Under Siege. Not the terrible Steven Seagal movie, but the delightful TNA live event that they'll be broadcasting on TNA Plus and other places, I'm sure. We're here to talk wrestling and wrestling-related things. But as always, I have to ask you, how you doing?
Doing okay. That's funnily ironic. That's one of my favorite Seagal movies. Mostly because Gary Busey's hijinks and Tommy Lee Jones's hijinks as well, I guess. But yeah,
Is
we
is that the one where he goes, I'm just a cook?
exactly. And Gary Busey dresses up as the dancing entertainment for the captain.
Oh, that's too funny. So we're back for another week of wrestling content. More disturbed than the JoJo Siwa dance sequence. Let's talk about some Under Siege. But trust me, we're only gonna get more combative. Not with each other, but with the audience, because we are going to take a stance on the Jim Cornette "is it racist" argument. Yes, it is, but we'll get there. Starting with Under Siege. Whoa, hitting everything now. The show has 7 matches so far. I'm sure we'll get more after Thursday's episode of Impact. We have the FBI, Guido, Zach, Clayton, Ray Jazz, taking on TBD, one of the best tag teams of all time, to be determined. That's going to be your pre-show match. Jordan Grace and PCO will take on Steph Delander and Khan. I love Steph Delander's name. I love her look. I don't think she's a great worker. This mixed tag match should be interesting, but as always, we'll have to find out, so to speak. Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jordy Threat will take on Alicia Edwards and Masha Slimovich for the Knockout Tag Team titles. Hammerstone versus Jake Something in a Haas fight. The X Division Championship will be on the line as Mustafa Ali will take on Ace Austin. The Broken Matt Hardy and Speedball Mountain will take on the System in a 6-man tag match. And then Josh Alexander and Eric Young will take on Steve Macklin and Frankie Kazarian. I think that's supposed to be the main event, but I don't see why Moose being the world champion and Broke Matt being the biggest recent acquisition wouldn't main event. So we'll see. We'll see which one main events. This is not a stellar card for a pay-per-view, but this is not pay-per-view. It's a digital exclusive event for the TNA Plus wrestling app. So if you're a subscriber to it, it's free technically. Or technically not. I don't know. I don't worry about the quote unquote girl math of it all. Marcus, any thoughts on Under Siege, and if you are hyped or not hyped for it?
Yeah, I think the show gets better down the card. I'm on with you on the Steph Delander whole thing. Great attitude, great look. But I mean, if what happened that Rebellion is any indication, yeah, she can't really go like that. Definitely looking forward to the Hoss fight. Mustafa Ali is on a hell of a roll. Look forward to that. Alexander teaming up the Canadian connection going against who again? Moose Snip, the System with Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy and Speedball Mountain is taking on Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards.
Oh yeah, so it's Alexander and EY versus Edwards and Kazan. Both those matches should be good. That's an interesting take, like you said, on the main event. That being the main event, but it's cool. What's interesting to me is, and I'm pretty sure you caught this too. They do this thing now when they have because they only got like 4 major pay-per-views now.
I think so, maybe 6.
Yeah, 4, maybe 6, and then they do this thing where they immediately have right after I guess they would call it the app PLE.
Yeah, that's accurate.
It happens immediately following a major pay-per-view, and then after that, it's like, now we're going to take 5 weeks to build to the next major pay-per-view. Has that been something the recent they've been doing, and if so, how do you feel about that?
I think it's been going on for a few years now. Maybe not this close, but I think that this mostly is down to timing. But I don't have an issue with it because these and I think these events would do very well as kind of like mini super shows. They did one. There was one that Crimson did. It was like United Forces or something like that. It was on a military base because Crimson, I think, was in the army. I think, and so it was like done for military families who were living on base whose spouses are away. And one of the matches they had on the card was for like a regional championship, but it was MVP versus Chavo Guerrero. It wasn't anything special, but you got to have a little bit of extra flavor. I think the main event actually that night was Alberto Patron versus Moose, and what I believe to be Moose's coming out match. So I'm fine with these happening after major events as quickly as they do, as long as they focus on something unique. Having a double main event of tag team matches, I actually think is a good idea. I just don't know which one is the main event because Alexander and Macklin and Kazarian and Young, much to my chagrin on Young, are four of your top guys. I wouldn't say they're the top four guys. I would say Alexander and Frankie are probably closer to the top than Macklin and Young. You know, Matt Hardy's probably your biggest name, at least at the moment, just because of his legacy. And Moose is your world champion, so like you could split this one pretty evenly and make a case for either being the main event. I think the Alexander Young Macklin Kazarian match is going to be better because I don't like Trent Seven. He's lost 1,000 steps, and if Seven's lost 1,000 steps, Hardy's lost 1,000,000. And Eddie's starting to slow down a bit. Myers was never that great of a worker, but Moose and Bailey can really put on a hell of a clinic. So like, there's something in both these matches. So I'm not mad about this card because you're not being asked to pay $40 on top of anything. So like, I'm fine with this happening as soon as it is. It'll lead to the next set of tapings, and we'll see how things play out. I hope though, and this is the one thing that'll kind of irk me. The next event is Against All Odds, which is going to happen in June 14th, so about 6 weeks from now. If they do all 6 weeks worth of tapings at Under Siege into the weekend, that will be a problem, I think, because when you start to stack up so much of it, you can't adjust as needed. Injuries could happen, especially because you're doing 6 weeks of TV and then you have 6 weeks of indie dates for these guys. And then what's going to happen between Under Siege and Against the Odds in terms of injuries? Like, hopefully nothing, but we don't know. So we'll see what happens. I would like to see more championships being defended. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. There's questions I have.
Yeah, it's interesting, and also to that point about the taping thing, that also wears on that audience. I've been seeing most of some of these shows where I guess for some of the viewing audience, the show's been quality, but the audience hasn't been responsive to it. I don't know if that's because they've exhausted from tapings or whatnot, but that can almost hurt a quality show because and kind of reference like what they did, what WWE did over that Mania weekend where they went immediately following the SmackDown into the Hall of Fame. It ended up being an insane amount of hours they were staying before the big show the next day. So they kind of need to break that up. Do that better. I can understand why they do it, but I think it could be served better overall, both for the performers and for the audience, if they kind of broke that up. Speaking of champions, though, obviously I think we got a new digital media champion, and I don't think we, ironically enough, didn't reference this for the show for the notes that I think the last digital media champion may be in flux.
So, what Marcus is referencing is there's a good possibility that Crazy Steve may no longer be with the company. I deduced this. I don't have the news on it. If there's something you've seen after the fact, let me know. But basically, there was a comment made on Twitter where someone's like, look at Matt Hardy and Alexander Hammerstone and Santana. Clearly TNA is not cutting its budget. And then Crazy Steve chimed in saying, yes, they have. Okay. Then 6 hours later, Josh Alexander posted basically a praising post for Crazy Steve and highlighting some of his upcoming indie dates and encouraging others to book him. Which seems to me to read as TNA is no longer using Crazy Steve. And if that's the case, that's a loss because I thought Steve had some of the best character work on the brand. I don't, as I say with a lot of these departures, I don't see it as a crippling blow to the company. You lose AJ Styles and Sting in literally, what was it? The span of 5 weeks? Yeah. And they survived that. Now, granted, like a crab ripping off its arm, which I just found out they do because they can regrow limbs. I did not know that.
Oh, it's an Namekian.
Yeah, basically. But like a crab regrowing an arm, it takes a while to restore balance. So I hope Steve is still on brand because he's so much fun to watch. But I'm not going to be, oh no, woe is me, because I believe refreshing rosters is the key to longevity. Now, you hope to do it more like the WWE does it, where they're able to be like, listen, it's not nice, but here's 20 releases, and here's an influx of 20 new names. You'd rather see that than kind of what MLW has to go through, or even TNA, where they get poached. Because sometimes you end up losing the pillars of your organization that way, but hopefully Steve is still around, but it does seem like there is some cost-cutting going on with the talent.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't have any further news on it. I don't know if it got. I don't even know if it got necessarily any type of notoriety because apparently, according to certain internet pundits, attendance and buzz around the company is dying a death, particularly with pay-per-view numbers and whatnot. As there's a lot of statisticians all of a sudden now across Twitter, but yeah, it kind of just came off like when he said that the narrative got based off of the new acquisitions as opposed to like what the budget's being doled out to certain people. It kind of came off like they cut costs, but they cut costs when it came to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like a thing. And Josh Alexander's tweet kind of feel like it almost supported it, where it's like, no, this guy's like, he's good, he's great, he's reliable, he's dependable, all that good stuff. He's worth, more than what he's being given in that regard. So it sucks because he has been with the company since 2012. Like, how far does the menagerie go back?
2014, 2015.
Yeah, he's been with them. Yeah, I mean he's tenured at this point because he's been with them consistently since then. So it sucks. And to your point about the character work, I feel like this is the best his character work has ever been. And the company didn't feel like he was lost in the shuffle. Felt like he had a home-defined thing coming off of the Tommy thing, breaking up from Black Taurus, that whole deal, and finally becoming champion solo anyway. So it just sucks that there's a potential that they don't see value in him enough to potentially pay him for what he feels like he's worth. But, what are you going to do? That's kind of got, how those dominoes fall sometimes. But luckily, there's places for him to go and work, and again, for the fact that he's technically is, for him to be as good as he is and technically blind as we talked about before,
mm-hmm.
It just speaks to the the level of guy that he is. So that sucks, and hopefully they don't do that to other talent, like a Rosemary or anything like that down the line. But this is once again we kind of dealing with yet again as TNA fans dealing with another regime. So what you gonna do?
Yeah, this was a rough week. That's for sure. One of the things that popped up was that TNA only did quote unquote 500 TV buys for their last pay per view, but most of the purchases from their last pay per view came from digital streaming. So I think it's a very misleading number. And somebody else chimed in. Somebody with Anthem and TNA chimed in. I think I wish I could find the post. I can't now, and it would probably take too long for me to do so on stream tonight. So I may update this next week. But basically, it was deemed as an inaccurate, misleading number. I don't think it's great, the TV buys, but who the hell is buying cable pay-per-view purchases these days? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's. I mean, all the stuff. I think, like I said, TNA's always, for better or for worse, it's always kind of been deemed as a redheaded stepchild, and the one that's everybody kind of loves to pile on, even at the best of times. But one thing for certain that kind of sucks. It does seem like they've lost significant momentum coming off the top of the year. Obviously, we talked about that before. That there would be some because we saw the short term of the more exit, but I think maybe now we're seeing some of that long term in that regard. So they kind of just got to get back to the grind, put their nose down, go to work with the talent, and putting on quality shows and hope to rebuild that momentum because it was an exciting time back in January. So at least that's how I felt.
All right, I think I may have actually found the person.
Oh, great.
Yeah, let's see real fast. While I look, so The Rock is making people like 8 hours late to work.
Wait, what?
Have you not seen this? The Rock is perpetually showing up 8 hours late to his current movie with Ryan Reynolds to the point where Ryan Reynolds had to yell at him.
Wait, what?
Yeah, check it out.
I knew he was training for the
Yeah,
thing.
he's showing up late to work. Yeah.
You getting Ryan Reynolds out of pocket. That's
Right? And like that's the part that really kind of makes me giggle. It's like of all the people, of all the people, it's Ryan Reynolds. Hmm. Okay, so the name is Mike Gilberts. He is a host who apparently has low key announced that he gets scoops from Ross Foreman, and Ross Foreman is a former WCW and current TNA backstage worker. Let me get his exact title. I've talked with Ross before. He's a good dude. He's the head of media relations for TNA Wrestling, as well as a publisher, writer, photographer, and sports official. So, and also marathon runner for those of you who care. The thing was announced, hey, 500, and Mike Gilbert said, I had to explain to everyone that 500 TV buys isn't the total, and it will be much higher. The children in the room are running 500, though, then quoting the TNA could be number 2 guys if they were a real thing. So, considering who he has sources in with TNA with, I'm going to go with that. I would expect on the last pay-per-view, which was Rebellion, I think 20 to 30,000 I think is going to be its final number. It's not going to be great. But TNA has never done great pay-per-view numbers, so it's going to be far more than 500. And the sad thing is because of social media culture, no one's going to care about the actual number. And that's going to just piss me off even more because it's like, if you care about the number one is bad, be accurate when it's not. I fucking hate this shit. Oh,
yeah.
I had a weekend on social media.
Yeah, and it's somebody that just kind of regular checks in and out. Then poke my head in like, oh, Chad's going like, oh, it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
People.
I had a weekend, man. I had a weekend. So one of the things that we talked about this weekend was yeah, his name's Yellowbone. He's become very popular among TNA fans. He's an idiot, but he talks like he knows everything, and that upsets me. He said something like, I wish TNA would bring the X Division back to how it was when there was no tag teams in the X Division. And I'm like, brother, one, the X Division has never been properly defined. There has never been a section of the roster that's an X Division. Because the X Division literally has no limits. So therefore, there is no restriction. So therefore, anyone can be in the X Division if they want to be. Secondly, the tag team champions, the inaugural tag team champions in TNA's history. I listed like 20, 30 more examples. But the first two motherfuckers to hold the NWA tag team titles when it was under the TNA wrestling banner were Jerry Lynn and the X Division champion AJ Styles. I'm pretty sure they had a match while champions. Like an X Division title match while tag team champions. Or at least they were supposed to. I think Lynn got hurt. I don't know if that was before or after the X Division title match. So, like, the X Division has always had tag teams in it. And that's fine. Just like the tag teams usually have non-tag teams in it. And even the women's division, the Knockout champion, doesn't always have women. Eric Young won the Knockout tag team title. Sonny Kiss was a competitor against, who was it, Trinity? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Not great. Not a great argument. And this guy's like, we'll just agree to disagree. I'm like, no. You are wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. Then the other one was, I really hate tribalisms. I prefer TNA over All Wrestling. I watch All Wrestling. I saw some of the draft. It's not good. They need to change that up. I don't agree with you got to do wrestling matches to determine draft picks. No, just stop with this 5-5-5 nonsense. Stop having your best wrestlers not be picked in the first round. Like, focus more on the call-up aspect, because that's the buzz. Like all the clips I see on social media, it's all the buzz of the NXT town getting called up.
Yeah,
so focus on that. Like, actually make it a draft. Like you put it on the same weekend as the NFL draft. So
that would have been hilarious.
No, they did. Friday night was night 2 of the NFL draft, and that was night 1 of the WWE draft. So, like, you are purposely trying to filter fans from the NFL to your product, so you may as well actually make it about calling up new talent. Which means not putting them on Raw and SmackDown before they get called up. It means not putting them in the Royal Rumble. It means not putting them on pay-per-view. It means keeping them in NXT until it's time to call up, which I know Triple H does not like to do. He is a bad booker. Hot take. Not good. He's not bad. I shouldn't say bad. He's not good, though. He's short-sighted. He's I mean, he's booking Nia Jax, for Christ's sakes. Like, come on.
Yeah, this is, ironically enough, this has been, to me, her best run, because it's actually been consistent. She looked dominant and hasn't actually looked competent. But, again, I can see your point. The bar isn't exactly, in the air with that one.
The bar is so low, you don't even need to step over it.
Now I'm imagining the clip of small soldiers going, "That's the bar, man."
That's a great movie, by the way.
Right, fantastic. They need to show it more.
Yes.
Along with a lot of other Disney classics like Xenon and other stuff, but that's another convo for another day. Back to the going back real quick for a moment. Your Yellowbone guy usually has some favorable tweets, but I knew some was I decided like, okay, this guy's off when he basically was like, they need to bring back alternaries. I was like, no, no.
He's what I like to call a chocolate sucker, which is a fun way of saying he likes to lick the booty. He kisses the butt.
Damn egg sucking dog. Oh.
He's so full of shit. Because all of his posts are just engagement farming. That's all they are. With just thinly veiled intellectual posts on a product that he's only somewhat familiar with. He even's like, I haven't watched all of it. Then stop commenting like you have. Like, don't tell me that the company's never done something when you can't account for half the fucking company's legacy.
Yeah, the best part about that whole exchange was he clearly was not ready for you to come back with the accurate information as fast as you did.
Yeah, I overwhelmed him.
That.
Much like a diva doing the stink face. Who is it? Rhea Ripley. Much like Rhea Ripley doing the stink face over WrestleMania weekend. He was not ready for how fast that came at him.
The internet's still reeling for them cheeks, but God bless that woman. But yeah, it was because I watched it in real time and it was hilarious. And all I could think about was that scene from Blade 2. When Ron was like, "We in the spot." I was wondering. You blush. You're like, y'all was supposed to be fighting me.
The video you sent, I think like they're in India or Kuala Lumpur or something like that, of the guy like slapping them in the stick and then swimming under and slap. Yeah, that was it. That's what I was doing to this poor guy.
Yeah.
The other interaction that really got me fired up was this comment where it was like, Tama Tonga is the new top guy in Smack. Let me see if I can actually find it. Because it was the dumbest fucking thing I ever read. It's kind of insane how Tama Tonga was a mid-carder in New Japan and WWE turned him into a star in just 2 weeks. They didn't. Meanwhile, Okada was a mega star in New Japan and AEW turned him into just another guy. I fucking hate wrestling fans, man. Like, they're the fucking... Like, Okada can't speak English properly. Enough to hold a conversation, let alone cut a promo. They are doing the best they can with the guy.
Yeah.
They're booking him as well as they can. Like, he hasn't lost. He's a what is it? Continental champion now.
Yeah.
He's the best wrestler in the new heel faction. Like, they have done all they can with him.
Shibata's doing promos with his phone, and it's great. But he's doing promos with his phone.
Love Shibata.
Yeah.
And the bread. Ciabatta bread's... It's actually ciabatta bread, but still so good. But like this is like some false equivalency bullshit done by people who are taking sides in a war that no one really wants. I want AEW to exist. I want AEW to be better. But I want it to exist. I don't think it's good. I don't want it to go anywhere, though. I want it to succeed.
Yeah.
And while the WWE is one of those promotions where I do believe far more than people realize is about to take a real nasty downturn due to all the stuff with Vince McMahon, that is not coming out yet, but will absolutely come out. Vince, and I'm not saying this as a fact, I'm saying this as somebody who understands how business and human beings work. Vince is trying to settle this lawsuit because he knows, and the people in the WWE pressuring him know, that what comes out will be devastating. And we're not talking about Bruce Pritchard or who is the other dunce cap, that John Laurinaitis. We're not talking about them getting fired. We're talking about Stephanie being indicted. We're talking about Triple H losing his job. We're talking about Nick Khan being all the way in handcuffs. There's already an allusion to the idea that Nick Khan knew what was going on. And if that shit comes out in court, all while Vince is being investigated for this by the federals, I think it's the FBI who are checking in on him, or it may be the DOJ, I don't remember. But if all this comes out in a civil hearing, the pressure from the U.S. government will be untold, and it will reverberate through everything that Endeavor is trying to set up between the WWE and the UFC. So I promise you, if that does go sideways, which I think it will, because I do not think a settlement will be reached, but then again, money talks. I think WWE will be upended in a way that we've never seen before, but we'll see if that ends up happening. That being said, I don't want a wrestling promote. I like MLW. I want to like the NWA. They got some decent talent down there. Colby Carino, big fan. Kerry Morton, I think that's his name. The son of Ricky Morton. Camille, we'll talk about Camille here in a bit. She just left, though. They have a nice development system down there to get guys over. They got a few guys. Ziggy Dice, he's back down there. There was another dude, I can't remember his name, but he's gonna be a star. He's got the looks, he's got the moves, he's got the personality. He just needs a bigger format. We'll see what happens there, though. We got a lot to talk about, though.
Yeah.
Grizzly Young Veterans off to AEW. I added this to the roster, said I didn't really have anything to say about it. I don't think this is a big loss. They don't have personalities. TNA needs personalities. TNA needs guys that they can... I mean, look at Joe Hendry. I think the dude unseated Taylor Swift in iTunes purchases in the UK this week.
That's some real right on white crime.
Yeah. I guess you could say, Marcus, all white, all white, all white, all white.
Oh, yeah, but you're not wrong. Look, they not short on people that can go. They should, they need more people that can show.
Hmm.
And you're right, the Grizzly Young Veterans are great in the ring. Well, but essentially they basically like what the British version of the former the FTR got personality to a point. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I could see them being the British FTR, and I wouldn't say they have a personality. Who's the one with the hair? Dash Wilder.
yeah.
He's violent and not in a pro wrestling way. The dude pulled a gun on somebody in a road rage incident. And remember when Bret Hart got mobbed at the Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
The dude took a cheap shot on a guy. Like, I know everyone's like, well, he deserved it. That's a moral belief. Legally, it's illegal. Like, he punched somebody who was being restrained and couldn't defend himself. That's illegal. And it's also a testament to a man being unable to control his rage. So yeah, he's got a personality in that regard. If I find out that he's like slapped around some people, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So they showed up in AEW. Trying to see who else. Um, you think they might be because we're gonna I guess going because he's on the list. Do you think? Would you prefer if they lock down Nick? I mean, it's gonna be hard now because, like I said, he's tied between TNA and what he's doing in New Japan. But would you like to see him tie down Nick for the future?
I like that you brought that up. You didn't know this, but that was actually going to be the next talking point. Was Nic Nemeth? He won the AAA championship down in Mexico by defeating Alberto Del Rio or Alberto El Patron in what was a replacement match of sorts because Hijo del Vikingo got hurt. So it was a vacant match, and Nic Nemeth won. And I haven't seen the match. Everyone's like, it was terrible. Well, now I need to see it. But I think right now, yes. Even if it's for 6 months, even if it's for a year, I think making sure Nic Nemeth, and you can give him a semi-exclusive deal, which is what a lot of these guys have, where they can work for New Japan or Revolver Wrestling, which is Sami Callihan's promotion, or they can work for AAA, MLW, because Callahan's doing MLW as well. And I think maybe even the NWA, but they won't let you work for WWE or AEW without clarifying it with them first. Like, you had to get it cleared. So yeah, I would lock him down to that kind of a deal if he's open to the idea. He's said before he doesn't want to be tied down right now. He called his time in WWE what was it? An abusive relationship, a toxic relationship. I think is what he called it, toxic relationship. And he's not looking to get tied down anytime soon, which, fair enough, but also gonna have to make a pick eventually. I will say this unironically, I do want to see what Jinder does. I don't know if Jinder should go to AEW. I don't think he has the upper mobility there. But I think if you bring Jinder in and you do the World Cup, or the World X Cup, I would just call it the World Cup, and you have Team India being Raj, I forget his last name, Singh, I think, Raj Singh, Mahabali Shera, Jinder, and then you have Mustafa Ali sign up with him because he's half Indian, half Pakistani. I think you could have Team India win the World X or the World Cup and start like a real heel stable. And I think Jinder is the cousin of Raj, and I think he's the nephew of Raj's dad, who was in TNA for a while. Remember him? He was a famous Canadian pro wrestler.
Oh yeah. I mean, crazy. I mean, if they could somehow do like a do what they did with LAX, like we saw like evolved versions of the faction, like with the Desi Hit Squad, that whole deal, which I feel like we've gotten versions of now. That'll be cool. I don't think, much like you, I don't think he should go to AEW either because I just don't think it's gonna resonate with them, and it'll just be another thing of like it's another WWE guy going to AEW, blah 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 blah. But another reason why I don't think it would work if they couldn't do like nothing significant or consistent with the Kali version of an Indian guy. What they gonna do with him? So yeah,
Yeah, Satnam Singh has not gotten over, I think is what his name is. Although I think he had a spot on Triple Mania. I think that was Satnam. I don't know. But when I watch the show, we'll go more into that. Speaking of other big names that have been in TNA recently, Matt Hardy recently returned as Broken Matt Hardy. Why is there no Sami Callihan on this upcoming show? That's what I want to know. Matt is obviously a big deal. Jeff, though, might be joining him soon enough. There are, and wherever, because Matt's not under contract as well, so like wherever Matt goes, Jeff will follow. Jeff's contract is apparently up a lot shorter than people realize. I think they said that he might be a free agent sometime in May, which would mean that Jeff Hardy could show up relatively soon in TNA should Matt decide he wants to stick around for a little bit. And honestly, I don't hate that idea. Jeff has his issues, and Jeff may never truly conquer those issues. But as long as people are willing to give Jeff Hardy an opportunity, I don't see why TNA shouldn't be a part of that banner. A lot of, just looking at the WWE, like the people who are still in power have done some heinous shit. Even if you want to take out some of the actual, legal issues, like Triple H cheated on his girlfriend with the boss's daughter, and then the tandem gaslit her into depression and drug abuse. And people want to get down on their knees and praise Triple H orally. So, like, if Jeff is still a drug addict, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh no, don't sign him. If Jeff can keep his shit together for matches and keep his shit together for promos and not celebrate going down the ring as his brother's getting his ass beat on his debut, I say bring him in. Right? Like, at this point, the only way Jeff can stay clean, I think, is if Matt is kind of watching over him, and for all intents and purposes, it does seem to be that Jeff is on the straight and narrow for the moment. But with Jeff Hardy,
yeah,
it's
case
the
by
only
case.
thing you can expect is to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, just keep some more Joe away from him on the mic. Jesus,
Oh God,
it still burns. But yeah, I mean,
you
look,
could say that fire still burns.
yeah, look, I think they did what they did in AEW. It was fun, it was good, but a lot of close calls and stuff of that nature. We know where they are physically. I think they work really well in limited capacity. Obviously, a lot of history and Impact, a lot of different things they could play with in Impact, both as individuals and as a tag team through old gimmicks that they use in the company, what have you, from Willow to. Um, yeah, I don't think we need to ever go back to Cold Blooded.
No,
Or
but we
anybody.
could go back to Willow.
Yeah, definitely Willow. I was just gonna say Willow. We definitely don't need anything with Matt Hardy dealing with braids. Um, it's particularly with the particular lack of hydration that he's going through right now with his hair. Um, but yeah, Willow, I think with some stuff with Jeff would just save him body wise, particularly with Willow. But on like, I was gonna imagine it now. Willow stalking Steve Macklin, and that'd be some cool stuff. But yeah, it'll be cool to see them, come back and do some stuff, whether it be in a broken universe or, like I said, just individually, it'd be cool. So I think that's probably the best bet for them now. But we'll see. Like you said, Matt seems to be consistently uh, the one that's more veered towards being on the right path, and Jeff kind of wavers every now and then. Sometimes he's really good on a long-term thing, and then he'll fall off a little bit. But I think coming back, I think it'll be really cool. Um, we could get some kind of mini dream matches that as much as you can do at this point, like Kaz versus Jeff Hardy or some stuff like that. Different variation, but I think that'll be a great get. So yeah.
I think having him do tags team stuff with Matt should be the priority. I don't want to see either man trying to do a singles match. unless they absolutely have to. Otherwise, stick them in tag team and you know go there. So that'd be my thought process. Next up, what was this supposed to be?
Is it old Jimmy?
No, no. Jimmy's next. So The Rock is producing a Who Killed WCW docuseries. Do you have any interest whatsoever in watching that?
You say it's a WCW docuseries?
Yeah, about who killed it.
No, I mean, you know how many times can you say what the inmates were running the asylum thing and it kind of just
I mean, we
fell
know
apart?
it did it. It's like who killed Lincoln. We will, on this new docuseries by The Rock, we'll tell you the truth about who killed Lincoln. 6 episodes later, it was John Wilkes Booth. Oh, so we knew that. We know what killed WCW. It was financial mismanagement. At the head of the table, Eric Bischoff being one of them, it was the merger in, what was it, 97 with AOL and Turner Broadcast, I think is what it was. And then it was the second merger with Time Warner, which was, or was it Time? There was 2 mergers. One that happened with Turner Broadcasting and another group, and then one that happened with AOL. And then the bubble burst. I don't know if that was 2001, though. And then it was the fact that WCW was losing $60 million a year, and the network didn't want to carry it on its programming. Like, technically what killed WCW was Eric Bischoff. Like, at the end of the day, Eric Bischoff had the ability to purchase it, opted not to, and because no one else wanted to buy it and program it, they got canceled. Went belly up. Like, we know what killed it. And I feel like The Rock is, I don't know why he's doing this. I really don't. The Rock has become a bit of a conundrum. But
Yeah, that damn story about the 8 hours thing, that's crazy. And then this is about that movie that came out on Netflix like what, a couple years back or something like that.
I think it's a new one, actually.
The Red movie that he did with
Is that an old one?
cause didn't that have yeah, cause that's the one that had Gal Gadot in it, right? The one that's supposed to be Netflix's most expensive movie ever.
Yeah, that's not the movie. I think this is a Santa Claus movie.
Red One, okay.
Yeah, I think it's Red One.
Yeah, that's weird.
It kind of tracks, though. The Rock's kind of lost the plot lately, which happens. You know Harvey Dent. You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. I think The Rock is embracing his real-life heel persona. Speaking of heel personas,
Yeah.
we got to talk about Jim Cornette. So let's be very clear here. Jim Cornette posted a video, episode 340 of his official podcast, where he talked about Swerve Strickland's AEW title win, apparently the movie Mighty Joe Young, and a Q-tip. And because the geniuses that run the show is like, hey, you know what we should do? Let's put a gorilla on the thumbnail next to a black dude. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who goes, that's offensive. That's offensive. You can't say that. So what I'm saying, bitch, that's offensive. You know you crossed the line. And the thing is, like, if this was, like, Sean Ross Sapp, who's a scumbag, but I don't think he's a racist. If this was Dave Meltzer, fucking moron. I think Dave Meltzer is, and I say this not as an insult, but as a descriptor, I generally think he's autistic. Otherwise, why else would you combat morons who don't read your stuff anyway for hours? Like, how does that man get any work done? That dude is responding to everyone who comments on his shit. It's not that serious, Dave. I think if Dave wasn't so combative with the comments, he wouldn't have so many enemies. But when it comes to Jim Cornette, we actually have proof positive examples of him being racist. For instance, how he got fired from the NWA. Do you remember? I remember. Pepperidge
Some,
Farms remembers.
something about poultry.
He said that I forget the context or what he was talking about, but he's like talking about a wrestler and how fast he was moving, saying something to the effect like it's like he's driving through Africa on a scooter with fried chicken strap to his back. That
Yeah.
was racist. There's context to his behavior before. And listen, there's an argument to be made, right? Where yes, he's a racist, and this wasn't intended to be racist, right? Like, the old adage, well, even Hitler had a good idea: universal health care. The rest of them were bad ideas. Sometimes the racist may do something unintentionally unracist. He may believe this was unracist. But when you have a caricature of Jim Cornette as a gorilla, which on its own I think is hilarious, juxtaposed to the first black AEW world champion with no context, this comes off as offensive and racist. They aren't morons. They might be. I shouldn't defend them. They might be morons. But I do believe this was intended to get the reaction they wanted. This was intended to get people to tune in. This was intended to rage bait. And if you were willing to rage bait the idea of race on any level, I don't respect you as a human being. I think we have enough issues in this country. I think we have enough issues in this world between the races, the ethnic groups, the religious groups, the genders, the sexual identity groups. We don't need to be looking for bad players or bad actors trying to exacerbate a situation, which is what I believe Jim Cornette is trying to do. I think he's trying to parlay the significance of Swerve Strickland's moment. I think he's trying to enrich himself greatly off of this financially, and it may not be racist, but it's still a scumbag move. But Jim Cornette is a scumbag, so why am I shocked? I'm not. That being said, I've gone on record before, and I'll say it again. I think Swerve's win is fantastic. I cannot wait to see what they do with this title reign. This man oozes charisma on Shawn Michaels-like levels, which is still a step below Sting. And let me be honest, no one besides me, maybe, and this isn't me, so you understand, maybe Danhausen can touch Sting's level of charisma. So to be the step below Sting's level, I think that should tell you how I feel about Swerve. This man has a look, a feel, an ambiance that few people have. And I'm a little disgusted that Jim Cornette would try to do this horse shit. So, Marcus, as a black man in America, I am eagerly waiting to hear your opinion on Jim Cornette's recent controversy.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything you said. Obviously, we have a notable, lengthy history to reference Jim Cornette's racist, I should say, viewpoints of things, particularly how, like you said, how he got fired from MWA. But, like I said, I think you basically covered everything. I mean, and those who, like you said, doubted it, that it wasn't intentional. With his history, even if it wasn't intentional, if they looked back on it before they released it and saw the potential racial backlash of it, because of how he thinks, he wasn't going to change it. And he definitely wasn't going to go back and reword it or change the thumbnail with the attention that he got from it. Because that's basically the point anyway. So, yeah, kind of thing, everything kind of worked out, one way or the other for him. So, but again, that's that's the kind of the Cornette style anyway, very much rooted in that old school mindset from a lot of unfortunate different perspectives. And sadly enough, we've unfortunately seen a lot of individuals, even that weren't racist, that we kind of have respect for a lot in the industry, that we kind of look to as elder statesmen in that regard, that have succumb to the internet forming culture of it all. Like you said, so many people now just put up stuff or just say stuff, come off like real a-holes just to get clicks and views and whatever else, because that's the name of the game now. And that's sad because, you know, a lot more people that we see used to have a certain integrity about them, and that's kind of gone out the window because they just need to make a quick buck. So, what are you gonna do? But it's just another chapter in the Cornette history books. Uh, so yeah.
Apparently, not that long ago, Top Dollar, November of last year, in 2023. Apparently, he had issues with Cornette. Um, so, I think there was a famous Jim Cornette story with New Jack, where there were allegations of racial slurs being used. Let me double check that one before I submit it. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, Swerve's great, phenomenal. Like you said, everything you said, he's got all the tools. Everything's clicking for him right now. They made the great decision by actually capitalizing off all of his tremendous momentum. Looking forward to seeing what he does. Had a great match against Castagnoli to retain in his first defense. Love how he's switching up certain things in his move set, changing certain things in the finishes and other things in the kind of near falls and whatnot, and just kind of shows the constant evolution of the guy. So yeah, Swerve will be fine. This won't hurt him in any way. It ended up helping him probably because it'll get more people's eyes on him listening to Cornette.
So New Jack has said before that, or at least alluded to, Jim Cornette has used the N word. Mark Henry has had issues. Mark Henry says, quote, Jim Cornette, got pissed at me because there was videos that surfaced of him saying the N word, and I guess I didn't come to his aid enough for him. Listen, I defended him, but the one thing that I'm never going to make an apology for, being a black dude, is that it's okay to say shit you shouldn't say. The whole promo that he did anyway was some shit that Robbie Dix had said. Jim shouldn't have said that because you're repeating something that some black dude said. But that's not saying that it's okay for black people to say dumb shit. I respect the shit out of him, I think, being Jim Cornette. But I wasn't going to dumb myself down and accept shit or say something that wasn't true. I never said that Jim was a racist. I never said that. I felt I got unnecessary heat. Man, I'd love to be able to talk to Jim Cornette again. But, I've done all the apologizing I'm a dude. So, I think there's enough out there to that, if not paints Jim Cornette as a racist, paints him as a bastard. I think if you're offending people on purpose for the sake of what have you, that doesn't speak high about your character. Your actual human being character, the one we see you for, not the one you play on TV. But what are you going to do? Speaking of characters, though, Rossi Ogawa, right? That's his name, Rossi Ogawa?
Yeah.
He started a new promotion. Kenny Omega's taken some shots. Asuka's taken some shots. There's been some allegations against him. Rossi has quite a list of women, though, who want to work with him. And now his new promotion, Marigold, not Marigold, as all the women in the video were so kind to point out. His new promotion, Marigold, is going to be doing something very interesting. It's going to be live streaming on Wrestle Universe. And they have 3 shows currently set up. It's the May 20th, May 26th, and June 11th. Apparently, the May 26th show will have 2 shows, a day and a night show. But what's interesting and what drew my attention to this was that the roster will have jersey numbers. Jersey numbers were also assigned to all the staff, including the non-wrestling talent. The number 18 will be assigned to someone in the future, as it said represents the company's ace. The confirmed assignments are as follows. Number 1 is Victoria Yasuki. Number 3 is Utami Hayashishita. I'm not saying these are wrong on purpose. Number 7 is Nani Takahashi. Number 8 is Mai Sakurai. Number 9 is Koki Amarai. 10 is Julia. 11 is Fuka. 17 is Miyari. Number 28 is Natsumi Shizuki. Number 33 is Misa Matsui. Number 39 is Miko Ano. Number 51, Chika Goto. I was number 51 when I played football. Respect to that number. Rossi Ogawa himself is number 64. Number 70 is Nao Ishika. And number 89 is Shaika. Or Shaika? Shika? So, Marcus, I know we don't watch a lot of Japanese, female exclusive Japanese content, but do you have any interest in seeing how this Marigold concept's going to go? By the by,
Yeah.
Marigold has one of the best subtitles. It's Marigold Dream Star Fighting.
No, that is a great subtitle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do an overview of it. Obviously, like you, I've caught in wind of a lot of the things that got talked about this guy by Kenny Omega and others, which is unfortunate. Um, certainly if it's true. Um, but again, like you said, this is another situation where the business kind of expands now because there's yet another place to work, particularly for the women. So, which is always a great thing. And Japanese women always put on some great products. So, hopefully, there's no controversy with this um, that comes out. But yeah, I'll give it an overview. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on like that. There's always something going on with your guy, um, Josh Barnett. You know, who has been working closely, I guess, with Murder Granddad to put together a lot of his calls. So that's great. And then some other stuff, obviously, like you said, Triple Mania popped up with some good stuff. So, like you always say, man, like it's a lot of stuff to watch, but that's what makes the tribalism so crazy because it's just too much good stuff to watch. You can always find some good somewhere. So, I think this is another example of that, and hopefully it goes off quite well. I mean, you kind of just listed off some other people who have promotion of their own, like Callahan and some other folks we listed. So it's always something going on.
By the by, we have a better understanding on why Ogawa was dispatched from Stardom. There was complaints among the players. They were for the wrestlers as players. This was coming from Taro Okada. He says, quote, I had interviews with all the players in January and December, and what I found out during those meetings was that things related to professional wrestling were left to the players, Mr. Ogawa, but there were some important points here and there. This led to a dissatisfaction and complaints among the players. Then we learned from several players that they were planning to leave Stardom and form a new organization. This also goes into the idea that Ogawa was essentially funneling talent from Stardom, who I think it's Bushido Road or Bushi Road or something like that, who owns New Japan and Stardom. They made a significant investment into Stardom, and they saw Ogawa possibly filtering talents. I don't think filtering is like, we're kind of like funneling. There we go, funneling talents to the WWE as a big no-no. So I think that's why they eventually let him go, is they believed he was hurting their bottom line. And if that's your reputation, then yikes. Speaking of reputation, Tony Khan, man. Do you remember Epic Rap Battles of History?
Oh yes, the greatness that was.
Did you see the 2012 presidential election ones with Mitt Romney and Barack Obama?
Yeah,
Where at the end Abraham Lincoln comes down and
yes,
chastises both.
epic.
And the line that sticks with me, that I repeat all the time in my head in these situations, is "You, I want to like you." That's how I feel about Tony Khan. I want to like him, but he says so much dumb shit. And like, I'm not even opposed to taking time on national television to disparage your company's rival. If you're AEW and you're like, listen, no one gets molested in my promotion, I'm not against that. If you want to sit there and say that WWE is the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling, one, you're not lying. The bodies of women who have come out and described the acts done unto them during their tenure in this company are deep. I'm talking Eastern European ethnic cleansing mass grave deep. That may have been a little bit too spot on with the analogy. Went a little dark there. But this is a dark topic. This is a dark concept. I don't have a problem with Tony Khan mentioning that. Martin, do you want to know what my problem is? It's going to make you laugh.
People acting like it's not as big of a deal as it is.
Well, no, that makes me sad. No, my problem with what he said is he starts the whole thing by saying, we're the Pepsi of pro wrestling. Okay, cool. What's the comparable analogy? Coke. And they're the Coke of pro wrestling. Oh, okay. Or they're the Dr. Pepper. Or they're the Faygo. He didn't go with the pop analogy, though. He switched gears like the brain dead moron he is, and he's the Harvey Weinstein. Now, you can call the WWE the Harvey Weinstein, but then you need to be Tom Hanks. Keep the analogy in order, moron.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like he's smart and dumb at the same time. Because it's like you said, if you're gonna make him Harvey Weinstein, you have to be Tom Hanks, referencing your company,
Or
and you can't,
Denzel, or Meryl Streep, whoever.
and you can't do that when you have freaking Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and fucking Ric Flair with an energy drink. It's kind of hard for you to have proof of concept with that glass house that's got a bunch of cracks in it.
That's a good point. That's a point I didn't realize.
Like you,
When I was thinking about that, like that's a damn good point because Chris Jericho has been accused of what the hell was that thing? Yeah, accused of possibly the fuck was it? Had something to do with him basically warning someone if they ever get fired, they're never gonna get hired in AEW, something like that. I think there might be more, but also all the non wrestling stuff like Kovageddon when he had his big COVID concert in Sturgis.
yeah, just
Not great.
yeah, you don't have a clean house, bro.
Oh,
And
Chris
like,
Jericho was accused of sexual assault at the end of
yeah,
the year. That's what it was. Okay.
yeah, Sammy Guevara had to be chastised about it. Well, not chastised, but he had to have a come to Jesus meeting with Sasha Banks. Uh, and then I mean, we don't have time to go through Ric Flair, so it's like you don't have a clean house, man. I get it. You just like you said, we want to root for this grown ass man, but he constantly reminds us that he's a goddamn petulant little child that instead of being in a ballroom full of other men should probably be running around with characters out of Ed, and Eddie.
Ed. Ed, Nettie, Ed. Yeah, it's not untrue.
Like you didn't do everything in your power to promote your strengths. You put up a narrative to be like, I wonder what their weaknesses is, because he said they got Weinstein's over here. I wonder if he got a couple Harvey Juniors. And it's not hard to go through. Like it's just like he got this innate need. And I don't know if it's because certain stuff happened where he felt like at one time they were poaching talent, like that epic clip of him going something something something. I'm not going to fucking take it. I've got more money than such and such. And I'm not going to fucking take it. So I don't know if you just holding on to that negative energy, but you got to let that go, because it's like you can't, like, you're supposed to be telling people about your wife, and you keep bringing up how much about how much her ex was a crackhead. Like, just focus on.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Excuse me. All right, last thing to talk about today. Camille is apparently about to sign with AEW, or has been signed since February. Worrying a bit that they haven't used. Maybe she's hurt, for all I know. Camille, for those of you who don't know, was the face of the women's division for the NWA. And aside from having one of the worst title belts I've ever seen in my life, I think it's like a throwback to the original, or it might be the original for all I know. It's like refitted. Camille's a hell of a presence. I wouldn't say she's a great worker. She's good. But she's one of those like Hulk Hogan types, minus the racism, that I'm aware of. Where you don't need her to be Will Ospreay, right? You don't need her to be Thunder Rosa. She's a presence. She's 6'3", 210 pounds of jacked muscle. She's the white Jade Cargill, or Jade Cargill is the black Camilla. However you want to play that. she's got the same frame, the same look, the same mystique, and sadly the same skill set. So if you use her right, she can get over like Rover. Like look at Jade Cargill. I know a lot of people are like she can totally wrestle. I hate to break it to you guys, you're gonna find out the hard way. But Jade Cargill doesn't need to be a great wrestler to be a big merchant. Like, and here's the thing that kind of like really boggles the mind. People forget what pro wrestling is. It is Saturday morning cartoons from the 80s on steroids diluted into a fine drip. The only thing pro wrestling exists to do is sell you shit. And listen, I'm fine with that. I had a conversation in my own head today, Mark. Where I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? My new project for the year, I'm going to try to collect all the old WCW magazines and complete my entire set. I think I have like a third of it. So I got a long way to go, and it's going to be expensive.
Yeah. First of all, that's good luck to you on that. Because that's an endeavor from a financial and just from a collector standpoint. But yeah, I mean, yeah, to your point, like it's to sell. And look at Jade Cargill. If you can't sell anything about her, like you don't know. You need to get another vocation. Like the woman sells herself. And the wrestling will continue to come along, but don't think the company don't know what they're doing by putting her with Bianca.
Putting her with one of the better female wrestlers on your company is smart.
Yeah.
Because she's going to, one, be able to be protected,
Mm-hmm.
and then two, you're going to be able to see if some of that can't rub off onto her,
Exactly.
and maybe make her a better worker in the process. Because, and the one thing that I will say about Jade as a worker is she's getting the shaft. She's not had the opportunity to just work. Now, some of that's on her. You know, I don't know how long of a break she had between her last AEW match and signing with the WWE, but she could have, with her name at the time, she could have called up a bunch of Japanese Joshi promotions and gone over there. She could have gone down and did it, 3 months down in Mexico. She could have hit every major women's promotion or every major promotion in the U.S. that had a women's division and just, bore herself into this for 6 months where she was doing nothing but wrestling 4 times a week. She didn't do that. So some of this is absolutely on her. But I think she has the potential to be a very big star. Not a great worker, but a big star. I know a lot of stars that aren't great workers, and I know a lot of great workers who aren't stars.
Yeah.
And I think Camille, just like Jade, has that same opportunity. She's not a great worker. She's got the star look, though. Just like Jade. So hopefully when she does debut, AEW will know what to do with her. Because she needs to be booked like $1 million. And I don't need them to just do another Deonna Purrazzo or Thunder Rose or what have you, where, the new freshness of the week comes in and burns themselves out.
Yeah, last 3 or 4 weeks or a month, because they seem to be going longer with Deonna because they've turned her off Storm for the time being, and now they're facing off with each other. But like I said, they're 2 great talents. I just wonder what they're going to do with them after that, because they brought Taya in, and that was like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And now she's got orange hair and doing a bunch of stuff with Johnny for the I think YouTube channel and stuff. But
that has like no viewers.
Yeah, and it's just it's just interesting like that. But to your point about Camille, real quick, I want to get you, because I was thinking about this when you were talking about her. If you could turn back the hands of time, go back, and instead of getting Delander, get Camille for TNA, do you think that would have been a far better matchup with Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. Delander is kind of like the extreme example of Jade and Camille in terms of like she's got the look. But all that I've seen about her, she's not very athletic, so that hurts her ability to move in the ring. Her footwork is subpar. Her moveset, like she's not very strong. So like there's a lot of things that hinder Delander. That unintentionally rhymed a bit. I'm sorry. She's got more personality than both of them. Not combined, but she's like if we're ranking these women like out of 100. If you look at personality, I think Delander's got an 85. Jade's got like an 80, and I think Camille's got like a 77. But I think Jade's a better worker than Delander. And Camille's a better worker than Jade, but only barely. So definitely wouldn't say that I would take Camille over Delander because I think Delander's personality and look and appeal does generate interest. But I think if you're building a long term feud for Jordan Grace for 6, 8, 10, 12 months, yeah, you go with Camille. Because while Camille's maybe a C plus wrestler at best, that's significantly better than Delander. How are the Cavs losing to the Magic?
Yeah,
What about you? Would you take Camille over Delander?
yeah, I will just because, like you said, it's just certain things that Atlanta does have. She got the look and stuff, but it's like to me, I'd rather see Camille be somebody come out and attack Grace and leave her laying to end the impact with her spearing Grace and leaving her laying and having that kind of Camille stoic and says she raises the title standing over, then essentially having Delanda try to be intimidating, but ultimately having to jump Jordan with Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of can't be that intimidating when you need the man to come in and help you beat up this chick who could basically host the both of you, who's basically more host than either one of you physically, and then can host both of you. But then obviously you serve the narrative of the show, so she takes a beating because the guy power bombs her through the table, and you kind of just take the credit for it. So that's less interesting to me than somebody like Camille coming in with the boots, with the the statuesqueness of it all, spearing Jordan in the show like that, because Jordan's not really been pushed in terms of like really feeling like she was in trouble since she was trying to get all those wins back against Parasso. So I think that could just be more of a appealing challenge for, like you said.
I think you're onto something, but I think if you want to really do the whole like she's never been put down before, which I think is like a great idea, I think you
Yeah.
do it with Savannah Evans.
Mm.
I would love to see them really dedicate like a good year into building Savannah Evans up. I love her faux boxing look, her braids, the intensity. I think she's got so much potential. Maybe she's not a great worker, right? But I'm watching Eric Young, right, in the main event. We can't get worse, man. I know some people are Eric Young fans. As a wrestler, I don't think he has it. I don't think he's ever had it. I think he's always been a good personality. He could be a hell of a trainer. I've never enjoyed an Eric Young match in my life. Okay. I think Savannah Evans is better. Maybe not better than Eric Young. Eric Young is a very proficient wrestler. It's not a very exciting one. But I think if Eric Young can main event TNA, I think you can build up Savannah Evans into something worth watching. Especially if you book her right.
Yeah, I
I
mean, you're 100% right. I think that the kind of stars, like you said, getting the building her up, and I think you kick that off with her getting revenge on Tasha Steeles, who kind of left her in her dust. And then you kind of have it like leave Tasha Steeles laying 1 week because Tasha Steeles doing this great thing where she's going back and forth between certain promotions. She just popped up somewhere with ironically enough Kiera Hogan for some tag stuff, but have her leave her laying, and then just have her because like you said, she's got to build on her as well. Have her start leaving people laying, kind of like what they did back in the day with Cena, where a bunch of people got laid out in the night, and then he went out to the ring to just call them out, and then it ended up being Kali.
Yeah. The less of Kali we remember though. Just for future reference, the better.
Unless you want to laugh, go look up Kali singing John Cena "Happy Birthday." That'll get a good chuckle.
No, I'm good. There are things in this world I don't ever need to see. All right, that's it for this week's show. You can find Marcus on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
And his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow, on Twitter. Find them there as well. What are you guys talking about this week?
Yeah, we just covered two Gleat shows. One covering one of their factions named Strong Hearts, one of their babyface factions, the babyface faction they're named Strong Hearts, and then we covered another show, UWF show, which is kind of like a pure rules type of deal, but throughout the whole show. So it's kind of like uh, what they do with the pure rules and kind of like mix between the pure type of stuff and like the underground esque thing that they now doing in NXT. So uh, go check those out. Like I said, it's Glee. Great Japanese promotion. Um, go check that out. And real quick, the people that's listening, even though it may seem futile, send some well wishes and prayers to Darby Allin, please. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he wrestled a bus this weekend and
Not a joke.
lost.
It's not a joke. This kid, Jesus.
Darby, no. Darby, yes. I'm still not completely sure he didn't try to grind on it like a skateboard. I'm just saying, like, there's always a possibility. By the by, Elite has some pretty dope looking title belts.
Yeah, they do.
All right, well, you can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHADNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, CHADSPHOTOHUT. We're done for the week. We'll be back next Tuesday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast, probably around 9 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, as always, take us home.